Giada, it's such an honor to have you on the show. I'm such a fan.
I listen to your show often, so this is a real treat for me.
Did it impact your career negatively, would you say, to have a kid?
It actually enhanced my career. Having a baby at 38 threw me into perimenopause. I'm not going to age, and I think we can't keep telling the younger generation that we're not going to age because there is no way around this. We are aging, and we should be able to embrace it. You know, there's something to be said with the people that you surround yourself with and who you eat with, and who you share your time with. I want her to see that at any age, a woman can take a leap of faith. I'm in somewhat control of my own story in a way I never was before.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the Liz Moody podcast, where every week we're sharing real science, real stories, and realistic tools that actually level up every part of your life. I am your host, Liz Moody, and I'm a best-selling author and longtime journalist. I don't think that today's guest really needs an introduction because she is an absolute icon. I am so thrilled to welcome Giada de Laurentiis to the podcast. Giada is a food world legend, an Emmy Award-winning Food Network host, a best-selling cookbook author, a restaurant owner and entrepreneur with her line of pastas, sauces, and oils, Giada. I could keep going with all of her accomplishments. She just released her newest cookbook, Super Italian, and it's everything that I love in a cookbook. It basically takes all of the ingredients and recipes that make real Italian cooking so good for you, and it delivers them right to your home so you don't need to go to the Mediterranean to reap the benefits. However, if you would like to go to the Mediterranean, I do make sure to ask Giada where you should go in Italy right now that's absolutely stunning but not overrun by tourists or ruined by viral TikToks, and she gave me very good advice, so stay tuned for that. There's a lot of information in this episode, so if you want some key takeaways when you're done listening, head over to lizmoody.substack.com and sign up for our brand new newsletter, which has action steps for each episode, as well as meal plans, workout plans, and bonus interviews. Giada, it's such an honor to have you on the show. I'm such a fan.
Aw, thank you for having me. I listen to your show often, so this is a real treat for me.
You know, I think we have a friend in common too. One of my friends from my editorial days was Catherine Budig, and she was one of your yoga teachers, right?
Yes, she was my very first yoga teacher.
That's so crazy.
I'd never done yoga before that.
How did you get into yoga in the first place? How were you like, oh, I want to try it?
I was a gym rat most of my life, and then I got pregnant. And when I was 6 months pregnant, my doctor was like, you have two choices. You either stop working, stop traveling, stop doing everything, or you stop working out. It's one or the other. Because my daughter's little body was not growing properly because I was clearly too stressed and working out to get rid of the stress, because that was my release for many, many years. And they said it was just too much on my body. So my body was absorbing the minerals and all the stuff from the baby. So they were like, you have two options. Figure it out. And I thought, well, I work out to handle my stress. That's how I get it out. That was my form of therapy at the time. I saw an acupuncturist at the time, and she was like, try yoga instead. I'm like, yoga? That's not a workout. I'm never going to sweat. I'm never going to work out in the sense of what I believed working out was, right? And she's like, well, you don't seem to have a choice unless you stop working. And so I started yoga. One of my friends saw Catherine, and they said, why don't you try her? And she also knew how to work with people who were pregnant. You can't go from 0 to 100 in yoga and having never done it when you're pregnant. They really tell you not to do that. So she was really good with pregnant people. And so she was calm and she was very patient. And we did pregnancy yoga for a long time, which I thought was lame because there was nothing happening. But I will tell you that in the months that I did that part of the yoga, I realized she was able to release my back. She was able to do things that a lot of us, when you're pregnant, you're really uncomfortable. And she really helped me through that. And that sort of clicked, and I ended up doing yoga. I've done yoga ever since. My daughter's almost 17. Yoga changed my body. It changed my life. It changed the way I breathe, the way I move in the world, the way I feel about my own self in the world. Catherine was a big part of that. So yes.
Was that the beginning of your health journey? Because I'd say maybe, was it like 2020? So your last 2 or 3 books, your tone has changed to be more in this health vibe, wellness vibe. What was the catalyst for that?
Once I had my daughter a little later at 38 years old. And even 17 years ago, 38 years old was considered old for having a child. Having children was never my goal. So it wasn't like I worked at it for years. I got pregnant. And I thought,
accidentally. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
By 38, I am 38 now.
Okay.
It is on my mind every single day. Like, should I have
But
a kid?
because
Should I not have a kid?
Oh, I never thought about it.
You literally, like, genuinely, you were 38 you weren't, like, brushing your teeth and go, like, my time is running out, because that's me right now.
No, I do not. I never thought that. I didn't. Honestly, my daughter knows this. I did not care. It's not that I didn't want them. It wasn't a priority for me. Or at the time, for my ex-husband. I'm the eldest of 4 children. So 3 of us are born very close together within a year or 2 of each other. So my mother had me at 19. So 13 years later, she decided to have another child, my little brother. And so because I was the eldest and I was already 13 when he was born, I was changing diapers at like 16, 17. When I got a car, I was told, okay, now you're going to drive your brother to school as well. And so I felt like I knew what it was like to have a child and I didn't want them. That experience just didn't make me want to have children. It actually made it the exact opposite impression. I really wanted a career. Most of the women in my family didn't have careers except for my aunt. My mother didn't have a career. It just wasn't part of our culture, really. I looked up to my aunt, and my aunt had no children, and she made movies all around the world, and I thought, that woman has the best life. How exciting is that life? So to me, children meant I can't have an exciting life.
Did you think about it when you got pregnant?
When I got pregnant, I was terrified of being pregnant. And I remember having a conversation with my daughter's father, and he was like, I mean, I don't really care if we have one or not either, but we're married now, so should we just see how this goes? Because I don't know that you want to go get an abortion at this point.
You're just like, we can set it back if we don't like it. It's just like, it's such a big decision.
He was like, in the beginning, he's like, but a lot of women miscarry.
Okay.
And you're traveling a lot, so who knows? And then they were like, okay, but now you have to have the amniotic fluid tested in New York, because I was in New York at the time. I said, I will do anything, but I'm not changing my schedule. Yes.
Like, you will have it, not have it, like, do anything, do testing?
I will keep the baby, but I am not changing my life for the baby. So if you tell me that all of a sudden now I cannot travel and I cannot do this and I cannot do all the work I've done up to now to be an independent woman, when I come from a family where the women aren't really independent, there is no chance. That is not what I want to do. So my doctor's like, Giada, you can do anything you want. We'll find you a doctor in New York for the time you're in New York. You'll go get these tests done. You still need to stay on top of it. So I did all those things. And the pregnancy actually went fabulous. I had no issues. It was great.
Did you like being pregnant?
Did I like it? I didn't dislike it, but I didn't love it. I liked the fact that I could get out of a lot of things when I wasn't feeling well, but I didn't really not feel well that often. What I didn't like is how big my chest got. And my belly didn't get that big, but my chest got really big. And my back hurt all the time, and I couldn't digest foods, and I had acid reflux and all that. But I craved things like meat that I've never craved in my life. I used to crave only sugar, so it kind of balanced me out a little bit. Once she came, all bets were off. It's always like this, right? So once I met my daughter, then it was over, and I was in love.
Right away?
Right away.
Okay. I have a girlfriend right now who...
That doesn't always happen, though.
It took a few months, and the few months really messed with her. She was like, did I make the biggest mistake of my entire life? And now she's in love with her baby. Like, she loves it.
But isn't
there's
it
so
like
much,
other relationships? Like, sometimes we meet a partner and we just fall madly in love. And other times they're friends for a really long time. Then the love grows. And I think that we need to see being a parent more like that than this like instantaneous thing. But no, I did. The only thing I would say is I had an emergency C-section. So I was in a lot of pain for the first like couple of months. That was rough. Enough for me never to do it again.
Did it impact your career negatively, would you say, to have a kid?
So that was my worry, which I'm sure is a worry for anybody thinking.
It's a big, big worry for me.
Correct. It actually enhanced my career because all of a sudden people that were watching me on Food Network saw me more as on their same level instead of this cute girl without a child. Even though I was married, I think they saw me on a different level. Like a lot of the comments I got at the beginning of my Food Network career were, why did you get this cute little model girl to pretend like she knows how to cook? So I think they started to see me as a human being. And women, who were the majority of the viewers on Food Network, started to connect with me on a different level. And I think because they saw me from not being pregnant to being pregnant to having a child to watching my daughter grow on the shows, There was a bond that happened that I don't think I would have been able to forge if I didn't have it.
Interesting.
So no. And I think that the things that you will talk about will change. They just will. And that will be for the better because it'll enhance your career. I just didn't see it at the time. It's very hard to see. I understand. It was really hard for me to see that.
I just want to fast forward to like having like a 15-year-old where they can talk and we can converse. It's the baby part that I'm just like, that feels like a lot of work and they can't even communicate their needs, you know?
It's a lot of work. But isn't your job a lot of work? Is your relationship a lot of work?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are your friendships a lot of work?
Yeah.
They're all a lot of work. But guess what? When this is all over, Liz, what do you have? This doesn't last forever. None of this lasts forever. That one most probably will.
So that was the start of your wellness journey.
Yes. So after I had Jade, my hormones went bananas. I was okay for a couple of years. I hit my 40s. It was terrible. I would do fittings for shows. 2 days later, couldn't fit into the outfits. My breasts became huge or tiny and huge and tiny. And we're talking in a span of days. I felt sick all the time. I didn't digest anything. I couldn't sleep. I would break out in hives from right at the base of my neck, my chest, all the way, my entire torso, basically. Not my legs, not my arms, just my torso. So I realized, okay, something is just not right. Having a baby at 38 threw me into perimenopause. But I think a lot of it also had to do with all the stress accumulated from before that, right? Like, this doesn't just happen. It's many years of chronic stress that I think perpetuated this particular situation. Having the baby just threw my body over the cliff. It's a lot on the body. I don't think we realize.
Oh, I realize that. That's one of the reasons I'm like, should I do it? Should I not do it?
It's a lot. It's a lot on the body.
You're growing another body.
Correct. And everything is about that body.
Yeah.
Not you. You're a vessel that's just a carrier. It does not care about you. You get really depleted, and I don't think I knew enough about the fact that my body would be incredibly depleted and tired from that entire experience. And by the way, I went back to work on camera 6 weeks after having her, after having a C-section, because I was told I had to, because I had a contract and I did not discuss having a child. Wow. Yeah. So this is 20 years ago, but yes.
Wow.
They don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So you guys are lucky. But when I was that's exactly what I got from corporate is like, we didn't discuss this. It was not in the plan. You owe us X, Y, and Z per the contract. You need to go back to work. And I did. And I tell you, it was very difficult. And I think that's what threw me over. And so anyway, I started soul searching, and I started to talk to a lot of doctors and try to read as much as I could and figure out my body. So that's where all the books came from. And that is the health journey that I've been on. And it has evolved. This is the third version of that journey, and it's evolved over time. I needed different things at different times. I always say to people, each book is like a chapter in my life, right? Anybody who writes a book like you wrote a book, that's your first chapter. But the next book you write is probably going to have a little bit of a different spin because, Liz, you won't be in the same spot that you are today.
I mean, my first book was Glow Pop, so that was
okay.
I had the Healthy Popsicle
so this is your
chapter.
Second.
This is my third.
Third?
Yeah,
oh, wow.
I have 2 cookbooks, but this is my first sort of like me book, I would say.
Exactly. Because you're evolving as a human being.
100%.
Yeah. And if you have a child, it'll be totally different the next one. And so books are really, they should be. Basically a chapter and a snapshot of you at that moment.
I love that. So you've tried all these different things. You've talked to all these different doctors. What key things would you say have made the biggest difference in your health?
HRTs have made a big difference in my health. And I know that it's very controversial how people feel about it. But for me, personally, they have worked. Diet and exercise. And when I say that is I eat 4 meals a day, smallish meals. I eat between 80 and 100 grams of protein in a day. So divide that up. It's quite a bit of protein in each meal. I've even worn a glucose monitor to figure out what foods irritate me at what times a day, because believe it or not, I can have carbs until like 2, and then all of a sudden if I have carbs, certain types of carbs, all of a sudden my blood sugar spikes. I have to eat enough. I used to not eat very much because I used to eat sugar. Like I used to shoot shows. So on my sets in the freezer section, I would have a whole plethora of different chocolates, dark chocolates, chocolate chips, chocolate bars, blah, blah, blah. And when I needed to pick me up, because I worked 16 to 18 hour days, really long days, I would just go for handfuls. I mean, I would go as far as doing close-ups of different dishes I was making and stick my finger in my mouth, stick it in the sugar container and put it back in my mouth. That's how addicted I was. And I would skip a meal because I felt like, oh, if I eat a meal, it'll make me tired.
Were you thinking about your weight or how your appearance in any of these decisions?
No, I did not think about my weight. I did not think about my appearance. All I thought about was I need to get through the day. That is all I need to do. I need to take it one day at a time and get through the day. It was just a lot. I didn't think about that. I did later when I didn't fit into my clothes. Yes. Then I started to think about it. Weight as a whole has never been a real big issue. For me, it's more about inflammation.
So it's how you feel in your body.
Exactly. I'm really petite, so if I'm inflamed, I can feel it. I'm really super sensitive to how my body feels. I'm super sensitive to everything, but intensely sensitive to my body in a weird way that most people aren't. And it can be good. It can also be really, really bad.
So you do the 4 meals a day. You do HRT.
And I do about 8,000 to 10,000 steps a day. In fact, I have my pedometer with me. I put it in my bag. I usually wear it on my pants or whatever I'm wearing, but I took it off and I put it in my bag. I count every step, 8,000 to 10,000 a day. And I find that just that change has made a huge improvement in my blood sugar levels and my cholesterol, in all of it. I was pre-diabetes just 6 months ago.
Wow.
Yeah, those things have really, really changed my life. I would say that yoga has been a constant, really helped me sort of center. I love acupuncture. I believe in it. It's helped me through my hormonal situations up and down. It also helps with chronic pain and a lot of body work to kind of the
like
back.
Massages?
Yeah. So I see he's sort of a masseuse, but he also adjusts and he also does cupping.
Oh,
a lot of cupping on my
cupping.
back and my stomach. I do a lot of cupping on my stomach, which I know sounds weird. I keep a lot of tension right in my diaphragm and in my stomach. So the cupping relaxes everything. It's about relaxing me, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you do anything for stress relief specifically.
Yeah, and that I would say baths at night with magnesium salt, Epsom salt, baking soda, and a little lavender oil because it makes everything smell good. And that really just chills me out, gets me ready for bed. Because sometimes we don't sleep well when we're super stressed and we're just ruminating on everything during the day. The bath really helps. The warm water is sort of, or you could do a jacuzzi, I guess. I do that sometimes.
How has your mental health been over the years?
I think that overall it's okay, but I get a lot of anxiety, I think, too. And I think a lot of it is driven by hormones. The fluctuation of our hormones when they're not at a key level has really created more anxiety about little things. And I catch it. My daughter's a good one at saying, like, Mom, is today a bad day? I won't ask you if today's a bad day.
What do you do if today is a bad day?
I tell her, today is not a good day. I'm trying to figure it out. And let's try it a little later because it can get to be a lot. So she knows, and we have like a little conversation about days that are not great days. She has them too, because she's being 17. She's also having all sorts of hormonal fluctuations, right? So we're both doing these, it's weird, but we're both in the same but different hormonal fluctuations. So we have to have patience and we have to be kind to each other. I'm always like, when she gets mad at me for nothing, I'm like, okay, let's just say that you're not at your best today. We're not always at our best. We just aren't, and that's okay. But let's take a deep breath and let's try not to take it out on each other. And I think just talking through it, because I don't know what else to do about it. If you have a good life hack for that, you let me know that, because I would love that.
I don't. I'm curious, do you ever have panic attacks?
I don't actually have panic attacks.
Okay.
No, but I'd say high anxiety.
High anxiety.
Yeah.
I'm curious, your mom had you when she was 19. You had your daughter when you were 38. What do you feel like are the pros and cons of being a young mom versus a 38-year-old mom?
Well, my mom had me in 1970 and in Italy. So she smoked.
While she's pregnant? I guess that was just like the thing. I know.
This is why I'm prefacing. That's why I'm prefacing with the time, right?
Yeah.
I'm prefacing with the fact that we're talking about the 70s.
Yeah.
We're talking Italy.
Yeah.
Which is even worse, right? They still smoke. So, okay. She smoked. She also smoked dope. And she also drank alcohol. And she didn't know. I'm not.
And I'm like, look at you. Maybe this.
But did that make me ultra sensitive? Did that make me have slow metabolism? Did it make me have all of these things that I now genetically have, right? We don't know because she doesn't have it. So I don't know. But her mother smoked and she grew up in a household where everybody smoked.
Do you have any like resentment or anger about that at all or no?
I used to, but I realized my mom didn't know any better. And had she known better, she probably would have done better. And also my mom was 19. What 19-year-old's thinking about taking care of their own body, much less their baby's body, right? So I think I was in a different place. I was mentally in a different place. My mom always talks about how she just wanted to go out and party. Meanwhile, she had me, and then 2 years later, she had my brother, and then less than a year later, she had my sister. So she felt strangled in a way, like she was in a cage and she couldn't get out of that cage, right? She wanted freedom and she never had it. And so I think there were different issues with her being a young parent. And then for me being an older parent, having already worked and having so much more knowledge, I think there were benefits, but I spent a lot of time on the road too when Jade was a baby. Sometimes I'd drag her with me, but sometimes I had to leave her at home for the first 3 years. I think there's pros and cons.
What about now? I mean, a lot of people have said to me like, oh, I had babies younger because I didn't want to be an older parent. And I'm like, well, too late for me. Like, that's going to be my lot in life no matter what at this point. But do you feel any disadvantages as you get older with parenting her?
I would say if you want to have children, you should have them soon. Because once you get into your 40s, your body and your mind changes. You go through another whole, do you know the thing they talk about, the hormonal cleanup in the brain and in the body?
I know that we have these two rapid aging periods in our life, and one of them is 44, I believe.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which is why you're coming up on it, and that's why you want to, if you're going to have them, you should just have them soon. Like in the next 2 years, you should have a child.
What is your relationship with aging as somebody who's been on camera for decades and decades of your life?
It's interesting because I get asked sometimes to do different campaigns for different companies, right? And everything is anti-aging creams and anti-aging this. And I remember being on the phone just a few months ago saying, I don't believe in anti-aging. I'm aging. There is nothing I can do about the fact that I'm aging. Now, I can do it gracefully, and we can do things to enhance the way we look. But I'm not going to age. And I think we can't keep telling the younger generation that we're not going to age because there is no way around this. We are aging. And we should be able to embrace it. Is it harder when you're on camera? 100%. Is it harder even when you've been on camera for 20 years and you look back and you're like, okay. Yes, it is hard. It takes a lot of therapy to get through, to be honest. But yes, I don't believe in anti-aging. I believe in aging gracefully. My mother's 70, almost 75. No, she's 75 because I'm going to be 55 and we're 20 years apart. No facelift, no Botox, no nothing. And she looks pretty good. So
do you do Botox?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, a little bit.
I do.
What else? What are your skincare secrets?
So you know the things they put on your back when you do chiropractic work to relax your muscles and stuff? I do that on my face. But
you do it in office?
In office.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not something you can do at home.
Okay.
You got to do it I think eventually they'll have it, but right now it's not. It's just in office. Also because they have to check. It's basically stimulating the collagen. So I believe in doing less of the needles, no fillers, but I want to get away from the Botox. So what I've been told, and I've been doing it and I saw a lot of improvement, is this electromagnetic field, and they put it on your forehead, and they basically put it wherever you have the most droopage. And since I'm almost 50 or 20 years younger than me, here is where it drops a lot, right? Depending on the structure of your face. And so they put all of these electromagnetic things and they stimulate. And it really helps. And it lasts 9 months. And then you got to do it again. And I'm sure as I get older, I'm going to have to do it more. That is something that I've been doing and I've found a lot of success in. A lot.
Okay. We'll find out what that's called and we'll put that in the show notes.
I scrub my face every night.
With you, you have your scrub. Is that your Italian secret?
Yes.
Okay, can you talk to us about your Italian secret scrub?
It's basically my olive oil, my Giada olive oil, which is high in polyphenols and it's monocultural, so 1 olive. I use that plus rice flour. That's it.
And you just scrub it on after, is your skin clean? Is your skin not clean?
I take all my makeup off.
Okay.
And then I scrub it, and a lot of times here, because I find that
on your temples?
On my temples, on my chin, around my nose, here, and a higher forehead, because the makeup artist is always putting stuff on my top forehead. It hydrates my skin. I also have slightly dry skin, and as we age, our skin gets dry. And as our hormones switch, it really gets dry, just like the hair or the nails, it all gets dry. So this hydrates my skin. So it hydrates, but it also cleans and scrubs all of the extra makeup and all of the junk in the air off of my face. I always wear sunscreen on my face and my neck and my chest. Always. I live in Los Angeles, so we drive a lot of sun banging, just hitting us in the face. I don't think we realize our hands and our face as women, well, anybody, But so sunscreen on your hands as well every day to protect yourself from the UV. And I never go for a walk outside without a hat. Ever, 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 ever.
How
I
often
do
are
not
you
walk.
doing the scrub?
Every night.
Every night? Oh, wow.
It's part of my routine. For my skin, it works really well. I'd
Yeah.
say if you have super sensitive skin, a couple times a week is probably enough.
I will say, I don't think that, there's been some celebrity brands that are like based around olive oil and they're like, it's the genius solution to everything. When I was traveling in Italy, we were doing this like olive oil tasting thing around Italy, and we were drinking raw olive oil pretty much every single day because we were tasting it every single day. And there was a group of like 8 of us on this trip, and every single one of us had insane skin by the end of it. Like our skin was glowing. It was crazy.
Well, think about what olive oil does. It's an anti-inflammatory, right? It helps the inside, but it also helps the outside. I think that's the thing that some people need to understand. There's superfoods that are actually can be great, not just to eat, but they can be great for your skin, for all sorts of things. And I think Europeans use a lot of superfoods in their food that makes our food more nutrient dense. And I think that's the problem in the US. We eat a lot of food that has no nutritional value in it. And then we wonder why we all get sick or why we can't have kids. All of this stuff, right? And we have to learn that it's quality over quantity. I think we think a lot about buying a lot of stuff. We should buy less, but buy better. Because a lot of us don't want to spend the money on the good ingredients, but those ingredients are the ones that are going to keep us off of all sorts of pharmaceutical drugs. They're going to help us feel better in our bodies. They're going to help us have mental clarity, great skin, great hair, and nails over a long period of time. Diet has a lot to do with it. You can do so much with diet. I think we never realized it in the past. We thought we needed the medications, but we really don't.
Tell me about some foods that you've added or taken out of your diet that have made a real difference in how you've felt.
Well, I've taken out sugar, which
Completely?
is pretty much, yeah.
So the
I
whole
have
chocolate fridge is no longer?
I have one square of dark chocolate at night after dinner. It has to be within 2 hours of ending dinner. It cannot be more because the blood sugar won't be as affected if you eat an actual meal. If you have it as a snack in the afternoon, which is what I used to do, that's when you do this up and down on your cortisol. And that's where your blood sugar spikes and drops. And that's when we don't feel well. And that is when you become diabetic. And then you need the insulin and then blah, blah, blah. I have one square at night, unless it's like my birthday or something super special. But again, I'll make sure I do it after I've eaten a meal, for sure. And then I would say I actually am careful about what types of protein I eat, only because I have high cholesterol genetically. I try to eat as lean as possible, but I also eat way more small fish, like sardines and anchovies. I think we forget how these small little fish are so great for our bodies.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think Italian and they think pasta, they think pizza. They're like, this is my indulgence food. This isn't necessarily my nutrient-packed food. And that's one of the things that I love about your books is it dispels that rumor.
Correct. The biggest chapter in the book is the pasta chapter, because at the end of the day, that is what I'm known for, and that is what I grew up with. And I think that pasta is not the enemy, it's the type of pasta that we're eating. So just a couple things to think about when you buy pasta. Whether you buy my pasta at Giada or whether you buy whatever you buy on the store shelf, you should look for, you can usually see the pasta. So the window, you should see pasta that has some texture to it. That's number one. The texture will tell you that usually it's cut on bronze dyes and slow dried. So that's what you want. Bronze dyes, slow dried, because manufactured pasta is cut with plastic dyes. And the pasta is heated to a very high temperature. So what that does is spikes your cortisol and your blood sugar. That's why sometimes people eat a plate of pasta and then their sugar gets jacked. And check the protein. Our pasta has 8 grams of protein. It should have a lot of protein in it.
Oh, interesting.
And pasta, the right pasta that only has 2 ingredients, water and durum wheat semolina, should have a high level of protein. If you see that it doesn't, or it has more than just water and semolina flour, you probably should not be eating that pasta.
Do you have any other secrets for making our food more nutrient dense, but also more delicious?
My Sicilian pesto. So Sicilian pesto just means it's not green. It's from Sicily, where they grow a lot of tomatoes. So it's got a tomato base, cherry tomatoes, lots of almonds, which are, again, very good for you and high in protein. So I use that as a condiment to chicken, to salmon, to whatever. But I also use it to toss my pasta. And then I top it with a little bit of shrimp, and there's my meal. So a lot of these condiments are there to help you add a lot of nutrition to the actual meals you're making every night. So all the dishes in the book have a component of that in them. So if you make a few of these, and you can just pick and choose the ones that you want to use for that week or that 2 weeks. There's Parmesan dressing in there that's got a lot of olive oil, and it's really balanced with apple cider vinegar and all this stuff. That again, you just grab and go. It makes your life so much easier. That's the way I grew up eating. There's a seasoning salt that I make myself, that I teach you how to make. It makes a batch of seasoning salt. You use that for everything. The only thing I wouldn't use it for is when you cook the water for cooking the pasta, because that's going to really eat up a lot of it. But other than that, I use it on everything. Anything I season has my seasoning salt on it. So that way you control what you're eating. You really know what you're putting in your body, because I think a lot of us buy a lot of packaged things, even when we buy packaged seasoning mixes. Do you know that there's a lot of heavy metals in those? That's what they use as anti-caking agents. The pre-grated Parmesan cheeses, the pre-grated cheeses, I'm telling you, they're dusted with all sorts of things that you really don't want to be eating every day. Once in a while is okay. It's okay. Moderation. But you can't eat that stuff every day. That cannot be your go-to on a regular basis. We have to put a little bit of effort and a little bit of time in what we're putting in our bodies. We put time and effort into everything else we do. This shell has to take us until the very end. Yet, we tend to ignore this shell. And that just doesn't seem to make sense. In Europe and in Italy, we pay a lot of attention to this body. We take naps. We organize our meals. We spend our meals with people we love. You know, there's something to be said with the people that you surround yourself with and who you eat with and who you share your time with. That is a part of this superfood situation. It's not actual food, but it's an ingredient in your life that makes you happy, that doesn't spike your cortisol, that keeps you level. They're all part of the beginning of the book.
Are there any other healthy living secrets that we could steal from Italians?
Well, we would probably work a little less. They don't prioritize work that much. We take more breaks. We spend more meals with our families. We cook more. We actually physically cook more. And we're very passionate people. So we are eager to share whatever we have with other people. And we don't think of ourselves first. We kind of think of the collective first. And I think we've sort of moved away from that a little bit here. We don't think of community as much as we think of me. How's it going to impact me? I think we need to start thinking a little bit about us, because we all have to live here together. And we walk. Italians walk. They walk a lot.
It's hard to do in a lot of American cities.
It is. So get a pedometer, stick it on you. From the moment you wake up, those pedometers are like $15. Put it on and try to get as many steps as possible. Go for a walk if you have to, but if you count every step from the moment you wake up, you can add them all up and you can see how little or how much exercise you get.
Well, and it motivates you to, if you have a 5-minute break, take a walk around the block.
And you got goals. And you can do it with your friends. And you can be like, I got 8 today. What did you get? You know, I do it with my boyfriend all the time. I'm like, how many steps did you get? He's like, I got 10,000, but he has longer legs. So I always tell him, he goes, he moves faster than I do. I have to do double time to catch up with him.
Oh, my husband says the opposite, because I'll get so many steps on a hike and he'll be like, well, it's because you have teeny tiny little legs. So you're like cheating. And I'm like, I'm still taking the steps.
Okay. Fair enough. But anyway, it can create a fun game, is I guess my point. Is that I think we need to have a little more fun in our regular lives. And instead of seeing everything as, oh, I have to work out. Like, it doesn't have to be that. It's just about movement. It doesn't matter. You don't have to sweat. Just move. Just step, go. I don't care if you just go to the bathroom and come back. Go fix your lipstick. I don't care what you do, but move.
You are an incredibly busy person. You're getting all your steps in. You're writing books. You have Giada, you have a child. I would love to dive into some of your habits and routines. Do you have a morning routine?
Yes. I wake up early and I have a cup of bone broth with collagen powder. And I drink that. Then I go work out and do, 3,000 steps. That's usually what I have time for, which is like 20 minutes.
On like a treadmill?
A treadmill.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, right now on a treadmill. I used to do it outside, but I live in Los Angeles and we do not have good air quality these days after the fires. So on a treadmill. Then I jump on my trampoline for about 2 minutes. I have a trampoline. It's small, really. It's like a mini trampoline. I love it. It just gets my lymph nodes moving. It just gets my body moving, believe it or not. And it's really changed the way I feel. And then I start usually work, or I do yoga before work. So I do yoga 4 days a week. So I'd say 4 days a week, I go immediately into an hour of yoga where I do strength training and stretching. And then I start my day. I make sure and get my meals, even if I have to pack them and take them on the road with me. I ate right before I got here. And I drink 2 liters of water a day. consistently. When I need something, I drink roasted dandelion tea regularly.
Yeah.
I love it. Cold, hot, doesn't matter. It's a great anti-inflammatory. I tend to get cold a lot, so holding a cup of tea. I used to do coffee. I switched, and now I do dandelion tea. And then I usually around 5 o'clock start making dinner. And my daughter comes in around 6 because she does theater rehearsals. And then I just hang out with her for a while. She either comes in the kitchen or we just chit-chat. We eat dinner. My boyfriend does the dishes. And then I usually will go chill with my boyfriend or with my daughter, depending on who needs what from me. And then at about 8 o'clock, I try to run a bath and take a bath and start my process of going to bed because I have like a 30-minute routine. Flossing, brushing my teeth, taking my makeup off, doing that scrub. It's a 30-minute process. That's it. And then usually I try not to watch TV or even look at my phone. And I try to just put a meditation or something on.
What meditations do you listen to?
I usually listen to either tropical rainforest, and I try to breathe, or a breathing guided meditation. Breathing is clearly, as you now noticed, breathing's a big thing for me. I really struggle in the breath department, so I need to spend extra time thinking about breathing. Listen, I wish I could meditate, but I think my yoga and my breathing are my meditation, because actual meditating, I've never been able to be successful. I've tried. I'm not successful.
So far,
yeah. I shouldn't put a limitation on it. I might become successful at it at some point, but I have not been able to do that yet.
Do you have anything that helps you be productive or focused or anything as you're managing all these different parts of your busy day?
I try to make my schedule so that I have 10-minute breaks in between things, so that I have time to decompress, use the restroom, get a bite to eat. I would say, too, that my animals, I have 3 dogs and a cat. And those guys really help me decompress. They help me be in the moment. One of my dogs is always hanging out in between my feet and is always looking for a pet. And I think those little moments of focus on something other than me or work or whatever chaos is going on in my house really helps me to kind of take it down a notch.
You are in your 50s, and you recently did this huge pivot where you left the Food Network after decades of being there, and you have Giada, which I think you started in 2016, right?
Yes.
And you have these books and all these things. A lot of people put these limits on themselves. Like, at this age, I can't make a huge shift. Did you have any fears around making this change?
Of course. Yes. Actually, you asked me earlier if I've ever had a panic attack. Maybe I had a panic attack when I left the Food Network. When I actually left. I thought about it for many years, and I was too afraid to leave. And then I did. And then probably that for a week I had a panic attack, now that I think of it. Yes, incredibly scared, to the point of sometimes debilitating. Yes.
How did you push through that?
I have a friend who does IFS. Do you know what that is? Internal Family System.
Yeah, we had Dick Schwartz, who's the founder, on the show.
She did some IFS with me for a little while, and it really, really helped. It really helped tap into probably the little girl that is afraid. The little girl who, I grew up in a family where it's like, I saw a lot of actors and a lot of people come in and out of favor. And so I think in the back of my mind, the fear is that at one point you will just be discarded. I saw that happen a lot when I was growing up because my family was in the movie business. So actors were discarded all the time. They were like on a rotating.
Yeah, you can't even enjoy your moment because you don't know when your moment's going to end.
Right. So I think my feeling was, oh, this is what it feels like when your moment ends. What the hell am I going to do now? I think part of it, too, is the pressure is on me because I take care of my daughter. I take care of my ex-husband. I have a lot of responsibilities. And as a woman, it just weighs on you. Like, what happens if I can't deliver anymore? But at the same time, I'm not happy where I am anymore. And I feel like I've hit my limit. I've hit the ceiling of what I could do. And I didn't have the time to spend it on things that I really wanted to spend the time on. But I also wasn't making any money on those things. So it's this like really weird limbo. But I realized I have to try. I will never forgive myself if I don't try. So I worked through it with IFS, I think, and with yoga and with breathing, and I think support from my family and my boyfriend and my daughter. Because for me also, I've always thought like, I don't tell my daughter all these things, but I know she sees it. So I try to just emulate what I hope she will take from this. For me, I think she realized, like, Mom, maybe this isn't what you want to be doing anymore. I want her to see that at any age, a woman can take a can take a leap of faith.
What would you say to somebody listening who is debating a big change and doesn't know if they should do it and doesn't know if they'll make it through?
Well, you never know if you're going to make it through, right? If I've learned anything in this life is that nothing is permanent, and don't hold on to it too tightly, because a lot of times that's when it gets ripped away from you. So I think we have to realize that what we have today isn't necessarily what we have tomorrow. And a lot of us in Los Angeles have really realized this. You know, a lot of us had homes and then didn't have homes overnight.
Your ex-husband lost his home,
correct? So I think a lot of people have really realized this in the last month and a half, that you can, like this, the lights are off. So that philosophy is the way we need to live our lives. So if you want to make a change, why do you want to make a change? What are the reasons you want to make a change? If you truly believe in your heart that that change will bring some good, it'll also bring some bad. I mean, I haven't been on TV, other than reruns, in almost 2.5 years. That's a long time to be off of television, but I hedge my bets. So this is the other thing. You got to be smart when you do these things. I hedge my bets because where do people mostly consume their information these days?
On social media.
Correct. So what did I do? I put all my eggs in the social media basket. I have lovely young ladies that work with me that I couldn't possibly do this without, who give me great ideas as well as my daughter. And I think I've stayed relevant in those 2.5 years off of TV because of social media and because of my social media. And Jodzi helped me do that. And being an entrepreneur has been one of the most rewarding jobs I've ever done. I feel like I'm in somewhat control of my own story in a way I never was before. I never had the opportunity, though, before either. And that, in the end of the day, is more important to me than the shininess of being on TV. And even though I will be on TV again, because now I've shot a show which will air, but there was a good 2 years where, you know what, I think being a woman in this industry is tough. It's tougher than being a man. The guys get more opportunities as they get older. In fact, like a great wine, they age beautifully, but somehow we can't. So that's another battle, right? But I feel like it's a chess game. So if you want to make a change, look at the landscape that you're making a change in. Is there an opening for you? Do you have a perspective that's different than everybody else? If all those things align, go for it. You have one life. And I don't know if we're all going to be here tomorrow or not. Make it the most you can make it today. Today is the most important day of your life because tomorrow, I don't know. I don't know what happens tomorrow. You know, I went from one day living in my house to being told I couldn't live in my house for a month and a half. Like, things change all the time, and we got to be flexible and be able to pivot. That's the only way we're going to survive, especially now. It's moving a lot faster than it used to 20 years ago. I think if you really want to make a change, go for it. So what? Will there be a downside? There's always a downside. If it's better than what you got today, go for it. Why not?
And I also think often we think we can't go back or make a change from our change. Very few things are forever. We're always changing. We're changing every single day, whether we like it or not. So if you want to make a change, you can make that change. And then if that change doesn't work, you can make another change.
Of course. And who says we can't do things? Who says that we have to stay in a box? If you listen to the people who tell you have to stay in a box, you probably aren't going to be very happy most of your life. And I think that's the older generation. I think that's happened to. I mean, even my own mother was like, you sure you want to do that at your age? Sure you want to leave?
I want to talk about your family really fast. It's just like a last thing because there's a lot of conversation online about Nepo babies. And you're sort of like an original Nepo baby in that your grandfather won Academy Awards, your whole family's in the movie business. But from what I can tell from my research on you, it wasn't necessarily a positive thing at the beginning of your career.
No.
Can you talk about that?
Well, it's what I told you from the beginning is that people look to me like, oh, you put a cute little actress model to cook. What do you think you're doing? No. Nobody that watched Food Network had any clue who my grandfather was.
But also,
at the time.
didn't your family not want you to do
my
any of this?
My grandfather, you have to understand that 23 or 4 years ago, which is how long I've been in TV, especially cable TV, was in its infancy. And my grandfather was like, I built this unbelievable, recognizable, glamorous name, right? In the movie business. And you're going to go take it to cable television? Are you out of your mind? It's kind of like some famous person, right? And then their kids at the beginning of social media doing TikToks, dancing and doing this stuff, right? And they're like, what are you doing?
And then years later, as their TikToks start,
exactly. They didn't mean it in a negative way. It's just they didn't know any better. It's like my mother didn't know any better but to drink and smoke and whatever in the 70s. Like, they don't know any better. So I don't fault them for it. But yes, my grandfather was like, I am not supporting this.
Has anybody in your family come back to you and been
Oh
like,
my God.
sorry, girl.
I mean, my grandfather's been gone a while now. He's been gone 15 years. But in the beginning, what would happen is because Food Network just exploded, okay? He would be at the airport and someone would stop him and go, oh my gosh, are you related to Giada? And he would be like, she's related to me, God damn it, I'm her grandfather. So you see, see how it switches? So yes, they are very proud and nobody could have ever believed it. Nobody.
What do you think of the whole Nepo baby thing? It's a born and bred Los Angeles. Well, not born in Rome, but bred in LA.
I think in this life, use the connections that you have. And if you don't have any, start making some. Get a mentor in your life and get them to help you. We all need help. Nobody gets to where they are without somebody helping them. Meaning, Liz, you're a very successful podcaster, but I'm sure that along the way, you've had people mentoring you and helping you out. None of us get there without it. Not even Nepo babies. Okay? We all need help. So wherever you're going to get it from, get it. What are you wasting your time? Who are you trying to prove it to? Nobody gets anywhere. Nobody. I don't care who you are. You've had a mentor. You've had somebody help you along the way, at least if for nothing else to give you advice. That's it.
Love it. Can you just end us on the best advice that you've ever gotten?
My grandfather used to say to me, make us proud. Do not make any decision with your name attached to it that you'd think I would disapprove. And I have never stopped living that, and he's been dead 15 years.
But your whole career was something that he didn't want you to do.
Yes, but the choices that I made were all choices within a certain boundary. And I never crossed that boundary. I tried never to associate myself with something I did not believe in. Whether it was an endorsement of any kind, I'd never make choices based just solely on money if it wasn't a brand that I believed in. And I turned down a lot of stuff. But at the end of the day, I wanted him to be proud of me, even if he's not here. And I wanted my whole family to be proud of me. I feel like my family didn't choose to be in the spotlight, but they're going to reap the rewards or not. And I'm deathly afraid, so I don't want to be in trouble.
All right. Well, on that note, can you just tell us a little bit in your own words about your beautiful new book, Super Italian?
Super Italian is a journey of the last few years of me going back to Italy and reconnecting with my roots and understanding how Italians produce food in a different way than we do in this country. And so it is packed with nutrient-dense little secrets and hacks of how to make your food even more craveable at home and feel good doing it.
Wait, can you tell us where should we be going in Italy that's not the places that are completely ruined by social media these days?
I would stick to smaller cities than the bigger cities. Like everybody's going to go to Rome just because it's the most popular, right? I have different travel guides on Jodzi that show you sort of the slow version of Italy rather than the fast-paced version of Italy, which is what we always see on social media. But I would say Ischia is beautiful and untapped.
That's the little island next to Capri, right?
Yes.
Capri.
Well, it's actually not a little island.
Oh, that's a big island.
It's the big island next to Little Capri.
Yes.
Everybody goes to Little Capri. Nobody goes to Ischia. Ischia is phenomenal. And not only
hot
that,
springs, doesn't it?
Yes, for wellness. My grandmother used to go when she wasn't feeling well. And she'd dip her, lots of sulfur in the water. So it's really, but anyway, big island.
Okay.
Go there. The coast of Puglia is phenomenal to go there. Sail if you can. Take a boat. The best areas are right on the water, and some of them are hard to get to if you're not on a boat.
Okay.
Sicily is always lovely, but you have to be realistic about where you're going. It's rustic. Okay? I've had a lot of people call me or email me or text me and be like,
there's a chicken in my room.
Correct. And I'm like, it's rustic. It's rustic, but it's some of the best food in the world. Truly.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Noted. I'm going to Italy this summer, so.
Oh, have you been?
Yes, I have been.
Okay.
And I've hit a lot of like the basics. I've been to Sicily. I went to Taormina before White Lotus, and I don't know if it's like been spoiled by that whole situation now.
It's been upgraded since then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I love Italy, so I'm very excited to go back. And this was such a wonderful conversation, and I so appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm a big fan.
Unfortunately, that is all for this episode of the Liz Moody podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, I would so appreciate if you would share it with somebody that you think would love it too. And everybody loves Giada, so that should be easy. Just send it to anybody, and they will probably love the episode because she is just so charming. And make sure that you are following the Liz Moody podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, or on YouTube, because we have got an episode coming up that dives into attention spans and why we do not have them anymore and how we can get them back. Don't worry, there's a lot of hope in this episode. It's not just all problems. There's a lot of hope there too. And then in another episode, I am finally sitting down with Zach and sharing how we decided whether or not we want kids, which is a long-awaited episode that I'm very, very excited to share. Following the podcast means that the episodes will show up right in your feed and you will never have to miss out on one. You'll never have to go hunt one down. And you can now watch full video episodes on YouTube and on Spotify too. So if you're watching right now, hello. Thanks for hanging out. Also, we are able to bring you this show completely free because of the brands that you heard in this episode. I am so picky about the brands that I work with. I get so many requests and I turn down like 99% of them. Literally, I turn down a zillion supplement companies. I turn down so many skincare companies because they do not meet my standards. And I stand behind every single recommendation that I make here. You can save money on amazing products while supporting the show by using the discount codes that we share. There's a full list of all of our active ones at lizmoody.com/codes. lizmoody.com/CODES. And remember to head over to lizmoody.substack.com to sign up for our newsletter, The Takeaway, where you'll get key action steps for each episode, plus tons of bonus content. You can also come hang out on Instagram. I am at Liz Moody. I share tons of inspiring and always very real content and exactly how I am using everything that we learn on the podcast in my real life. Okay, I love you. I love spending this time together, and I will see you on the next episode of the Liz Moody Podcast. Oh, just one more thing. It's the legal language. This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. It is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, a psychotherapist, or any other qualified professional.